High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. It's Revening's Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday, Revenue Party people. We've got our hot topics and our hot guests we're going to be getting into, but let us know where you're tuning in from, because if you don't let us know in the comments, then we don't know. We see a little number here internally, but this is just YouTube and Facebook. But if you're on LinkedIn, which is where most of you come in, we don't even know unless you talk to us from the comments. So we want to know, where are you tuning in from? What industry are you in? We want to make this relevant for you. So just keep us, aware of your presence throughout the show. I'm already seeing a couple comments there, but just keep them coming and we'll keep talking with you. But before we get anywhere, I couldn't do any of this without Layla, who's here in the background helping. And that's by delegating. And you should delegate too. And I want to encourage you to check out Cherry Assistant. So Cherry Assistant is how I'm scaling Revening. They will help place a VA with the skills that you're seeking with you. So a virtual assistant, someone around the world who has the skills that you're seeking, be it, an executive assistant. For me, it's producing live streams, comments, moderation, but for you, it might be something different. So scan that QR code you're seeing on the screen. Or if you're watching this later on podcast, just go to cherryassistant.com and fill out their form, connect with them, let them know that you heard about them through Wednesday, and find a VA and start delegating, because that's ultimately how you're going to grow. And I also, hey, Doug, what's up? Doug in Atlanta, Video Media. Glad to have you here, Doug. Doug, you just told us your industry and where you're from, but would love to know, what do you hope to get out of this episode? Why are you out scrolling on LinkedIn on live streams? Why choose this one? Keep commenting with us. We want to engage and make this a conversation with you, Doug, and everyone else who's joining. Keep talking with us, because this conversation is for you. But real quick, I want to bring in the guest. But before I do, I want to encourage you to go to revening.com/high level. Or if you're watching, we'll put up another QR code here magically so that you can scan it and start a free trial with High Level. You may have heard about it in the intro video, but High Level is a full service CRM and marketing automation platform. It's also an agency version. So I white label it. So I have app.revening.com and I have my own CRM and marketing automation. And then I have accounts for my clients. So if you sign up and you start working with us and we start helping you go live on LinkedIn, then we're going to build you a landing page that has a calendar on it, so we can help book guests for you to come on your show. And then we can send leads. People, if you go live on a company page on LinkedIn, you can gate that. So we've gated this live stream. We have 65 people registered before we went live. So those are 65 leads in the CRM. And then, that's what we do. Leads in CRM for our clients. And we do that with High Level. So whether they have a CRM or not, we can make sure that we are being accountable for what we're doing. But anyway, it's an amazing platform. I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry, but it's built around AI. It's very nimble. It's only $97 a month and you get 3 accounts with that. It's like a new day in the SaaS world, everyone. So go check it out. But in the meantime, let's get started with this amazing episode, because we have some amazing guests and I can't wait to bring them on. So welcome to the show. We've got Laurie. Where are you here with us, Laurie? There it is.
Hi.
And then we've got Ricky here with us as well.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the show. And is it just me, or is there a little bit of a delay? Maybe my internet.
No,
yeah, I see nodding. I just noticed when I pulled both of you in, I saw a little bit of a delay, but maybe it was just me. People in the comments, do you see a delay or is it just me? It might just be me. But hi, Mahad. Hi, Doug. Keep chatting, letting us know what you're interested in. In the meantime, let's introduce you to tonight's guest who we're going to be talking with. And in good old fashioned Wednesday style, we're going to put our 2 minutes on the clock and ask you to tell us all about you. We want to know your full life story from birth to what brought you to now and all the stuff we can't find on LinkedIn, because obviously we're going to go search you on LinkedIn anyway and figure out, what are your credentials, but we want to know the real human you before we get into our conversation. So Laurie, could you kick us off with your introduction?
Absolutely. Jessie and Layla, thanks for having me and welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Laurie Williams. Actually, Laurie Trumpet Williams is what I go by because there's so many Laurie Williams. I have to do something to stand out, right? So I am the co-founder for Trumpet Marketing, and we are a marketing and branding agency. We've been in business for 23 years now. And we've been helping businesses succeed online for all that time. We've seen the internet go from barely used Yahoo. We saw the evolving of Google and the smartphone and all. We've seen it all. We grew with the internet. It's been very exciting. So that whole time we've been bringing clients along and helping them with marketing and branding. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Prior to starting Trumpet Marketing, my background was in telecommunication software sales, channel sales, and some business to consumer sales. I started in the industry working for a startup computer software company. I think that's where my heart probably is in the computer and startup space. I really get excited about that. I'm really excited about AI and the emergent of the technology that it brings and all the startups that are coming along with that. And we can help a lot of them. So anyway, other than that, I am also an artist. So back in about, I think it was 2012, 2013, I started a large Facebook group, and it's a Facebook group of artists. And we specialize in alcohol ink. And that doesn't mean you drink while you paint. It is actually a type of medium. I don't know if any one of you have heard of that. If you have, let us know in the comments. I'd like to see if you're familiar with alcohol ink. But I started doing it. Then I started teaching it. I started a community. We're now almost 60,000 members worldwide. I have a separate community called Mixed Media Mab, where we do mixed media art, and we have probably 50,000 people in that group. And I teach art as well. And I actually started it as a side gig to help me deal with stress and stuff from my day job, and it ended up becoming a second job. That's just, I guess, the nature of us marketers and entrepreneurs, right? So anyway, that group has grown. I've made some really good friends and relationships there, and some of that is carried over into Trumpet Marketing and our marketing efforts. We help lawyers, we have startups, we have doctors, we have a lot of different types of businesses. We're starting to focus in the AI space because we really do need the niche down. That space is so big and so is growing so quickly that we really want to be involved in that. Trumpet Marketing, it consists of myself and my husband, and we have been working together. And we get asked all the time, how do you work together and stay married? Well, he works in the basement, I work upstairs. And it works out fine. Plus, that's how we met, was we worked together. So we knew we were compatible that way, and it's really worked out well. It's allowed us to be home a lot of the times and be there for our daughters, who, by the way, now have both graduated college, one with a degree, 2 degrees, one in business and one in marketing, and then the other daughter in public relations. So they're carrying on the family name on that. So we're like a family of marketers and PR people here. So you can imagine some of the discussions we have around the dinner table.
Oh, wow. I love that. So when I stumbled across you and your team on Quoted, I was stumbling across like a deeply rooted public relations knowledgeable group here. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing and giving us your background. And now we're going to switch gears and go on over to you, Ricky. And you come with a rich background as well, serving on boards and running your own stuff. So we want to hear about that as well. So 2 minutes on the clock. Ricky, could you tell us your full life story? Uh-oh, I think you might be muted.
Sorry, I was muted. Wow, let me start by telling you all about my birth. No, I won't really. I won't horrify you with that story. So, as you can tell from my accent, I'm not from the UK. Sorry, I'm not from the US. I was born in the UK. So my life story, the abridged version, is I was born in the UK, ran sales organizations, ran marketing organizations. We built the business in the UK, which is Transmission, the agency I'm now I lead here in North America, which I'll go on to in a minute. And then in 2019, we decided to start North America. I moved over here with my family, started with my family and nothing else. We literally had to start the business from the ground up, build social security numbers, get healthcare plans, hire people, find offices, get clients. And now 6 years later, we have just shy of 100 people here in North America, about 400 people globally. Transmission is a B2B full service marketing agency. We work with mostly, well, all B2B, but predominantly in the tech space, but we have lots of other clients across healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, clients like Henkel, Google, Qualcomm, Microsoft, big brands that you would know very, very well. And I run North America. From a personal perspective, I am a very big sports fanatic, specifically soccer or football, as it's known in other parts of the world. So I'm a very deep Arsenal fan. I live in San Francisco, as you can just about tell with these two pictures. Jessie and Laurie couldn't really see them earlier, but that's the tram and that's the ferry building. And our operation for North America is in both San Francisco, Dallas, and New York. So we have operations coast to coast. And then we have other our headquarters in London. We have Munich, Singapore, Sydney, Delhi, I think Beijing. Basically, we have lots of coverage globally. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
So amazing. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate having you here. And hopefully there's not feedback from me, but yeah, audience, let us know if you hear all the glitchy stuff. I'm talking to people in our Wednesday winners community, which by the way, if anyone's in WhatsApp and they want to join a group of people in Wednesday, we've got everyone who's going live with Reveting in there, but then we also have like guests from the show, audience, fans, whatever. But yeah, I keep the group on silent, but people in there are letting me know that they were trying to get in as well. So click refresh on LinkedIn if you need to, because we're going to be getting into these hot topics. And the first one being brand equity in AI marketing. So first of all, what does that mean? And then to the second part of the topic, build recognition and long-term trust. How do we use all that to do that? Can you kick us off with this, Laurie?
Absolutely. So brand equity. So brand equity is simply the trust and the authority that you've built into your brand. And it's important for a couple of reasons. One is as we, get into this AI space, I mean, I know that most of you probably like me, you're scrolling through your feeds and you're wondering some of the things you see. Is that real? Did they write that with AI or did they write that themselves? There's all these questions that AI raises that impacts the trust an organization has. And so one of the things that we have to do with our brands is make sure that we're transparent about that. I think once people realize that, you're using AI in your marketing or in your ads and stuff, consumers just really haven't come around to that yet. And I think it's like 38% are actually have a positive view on that. So you need to be transparent about that to help build your brand. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of brand equity is understanding how that impacts your marketing efforts on the web. And I don't think a lot of people talk about this, but the clarity and messaging of your brand is becoming more and more important. And this is because of how the information that you put out there is being ingested and understood. So if you understand anything about AI language models and how they ingest data, they go out to the web and anything public, they're pulling in all that information. So they'll look at the transcript of this podcast and they'll pull in this data from our experiences. So anything that we share that they don't already know, they're going to ingest that and put it into the grand pool. Well, your brand is very important. And if you understand this, you can actually control how your brand is perceived, and how your brand is perceived, and also how clear you are in your messaging and what it's associated with will determine whether or not you're actually showing up in AI search. And showing up with AI search, we're going to talk about that when we get to the SEO topic, because it really goes hand in hand with that. But your brand plays a really clear role in whether or not you're the person being recommended. More and more people are using voice search. So they're using their smartphones and they're speaking with ChatGPT, or they're speaking with Google's AI or one of the other language models out there to talk to their audience. And I think it's something like 60% that I read of Google searchers, they don't even go to a website. They don't click on a website. Basically, they go to Google, they ask their question, and they get their answer. Or they speak to their phone, or they speak to their Google Home to get the answers. And once they get the answers, they're gone. So they don't even click through on the website. So this is dramatically different, and also a bigger challenge for brands, because knowing this, in my opinion, public relations is going to become more and more important. And so is personal branding. I don't know if any of you guys follow Gary V. Do you guys follow Gary? Everybody follows Gary V. And he said something, and I heard him on one of his talks a couple of months ago, and he said, brand is the next funnel. And more specifically, he said personal brand is the next funnel. And that really hit home with me. And I'm like, you know what? That's absolutely true. And so what we need to do is be able to control that messaging that we're putting out, and also put it out in different forms, because AI is multimodal. They look at videos, they take transcripts from videos, they take images, they can read and understand what's in an image and interpret that. That, along with the content you're putting out there, what people are saying about you, your brand mentions, who's talking about you, it's all packaged into this little nice vault of brand recognition and brand authority. And you want to be able to grow that vault, and you also want to be able to control that vault with your messaging. And if you do it right, you can be the person that's being recommended in those AI search results. And so in that aspect, brand becomes increasingly important in this new age, more so, in my opinion, now than SEO. And I've been doing SEO since a long time.
Yeah, and it's evolving. But thank you for that. I love that perspective. I love hearing both those things. Selfishly, I mean, we help people build personal brands, and we work with PR agents really to support them in getting their clients on our clients' shows, because we help people go live on LinkedIn, create podcasts.
Exactly.
We're always looking, and so, yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. And I think a lot of people, a lot of the time, assume PR is dying. And I think, the old school press release that got copied and pasted into the newsletter is
that part. Yes.
That's dead, and no, you're probably not going to just build an app and go get in TechCrunch the next month. That's probably just not going to happen. But yeah, it's still useful to have PR around. But yeah, I love that angle. What's your take on all of this, Ricky?
I guess I come from a slightly different angle, because we're B2B, our world is not completely different from yourself there, Laurie, but it's slightly different. I guess there's a couple of aspects for us. Number one, In B2B marketing, you have a buyer group. So you have multiple people that you're trying to purchase. You're not selling a pen to someone and they're buying that right there and then. You're selling to multiple people, and each of those people might be at different stages of their journey. The other thing that, Laurie, you're 100% right on is LLMs are taking over. And we'll talk about audiences in a minute, but LLMs are taking over what we call that mid-funnel. So people are going to ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, whatever it may be, and they're asking a question. They're getting the answer straight away. Because they're getting the answer, what is that doing? That's doing two things. When you get the answer, let's say I type in, hi, I'm the CIO, I'm going to use a B2B analogy here, CIO of Wells Fargo. I'm looking for a security provider in the finance sector. Can you give me some case studies and providers? It tells you the 5 people you want to work with. Well, what happens? Immediately, my reaction is, do I trust that brand and do I know that brand? So when you talk about building long-term trust, the 2 battlegrounds for me in this AI marketing world is brand and sales. Now, I feel sorry for sales because these poor, and I know this is a marketing website, a marketing podcast, so you're probably like, why do you feel sorry for sales? But now, with that sales journey compressed, and in B2B, they would have had months to warm the prospect, to convert the prospect, to drive that to the purchase and or upsell, cross-sell. They don't have months now because the buyer is coming even more educated than they were before.
Right.
And they're coming in a more compressed timeline. So when they have that conversation with sales, the salesperson is actually having to do half the marketing job as well, because they're having to build trust, build a brand, drive demand. On the brand side, what we've seen happen is the world's saturated. Like, we see ads in everything we do. Even on here right now, we're seeing ads. We see it on YouTube. We see it all the time. And so with changing audiences, which I'll come on to in a minute, brand and the way we build brands is different. I personally believe the days of building brand campaigns and going, a campaign is the world and it's going to do everything, they're just done. Like in the 50s, we would, because I wasn't alive in the 50s, but I'm still a student. In the 50s, there was print ads, TV, radio. And because some of those mediums were newer in the ways that we use them, you could have an ad that was very direct. Buy this bottle of Coca-Cola, buy this supercomputer, do this, do that. It's very direct. By the 80s, people are sick of that direct ads because guess what? It become more and more and more and more. So the 80s, all of a sudden, we started creating feature-length films. Apple's 1984, Guinness adverts. By the time we get to 2000s, social media's exploded. Now that there's so many different ways to get to you. So now brand campaigns, they do this thing where they try to sell the product, but they also try to be emotional. But we're not morons. We know when we're being sold to. So when we see an advert, we go, that's an advert. And sometimes you lean in and you go, oh, feels really emotional. What is this? And then maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes in, 2 minutes in, 60 seconds in, whatever it is, they say, sponsored by, it's an advert. And you automatically click out. Now, I'm not saying campaigns aren't important. Campaigns are absolutely important. They're the foundation that you need to build your brand on. But there are newer ways, especially with changing audiences, which I'll come on to. There are newer ways to engage those audiences. Everything from really great storytelling. For example, I bet you if I asked you, Jessie and Laurie, when you switch off from here, you're going to go watch TV. If you do watch TV, how do you watch TV? Where'd you go?
Where would I go to watch TV? I'd go in my living room.
Right, YouTube. What would you watch?
Let's say YouTube TV or YouTube, or usually it's some sort of streaming.
Right. And when you're on those platforms, just out of interest, are you watching business content, personal content, or sometimes both?
I'm going to go back and rewatch this episode.
Well, I do. It depends on my mood, Sometimes I have to get away from it all, and then sometimes I want to dig in. And so it depends on my mood.
I guess my point I'm trying to make is that most people now, that line between personal and business is blurred. Oh. And so I'll watch documentaries that are about marketing, but they're not really about marketing. They're just about a really fun thing. Like if you've ever seen the Pepsi Harrier Jet documentary, have you seen that on Netflix? So in the 80s, Pepsi did this campaign where they said, if you collect 1 million tokens of Pepsi tokens, we'll give you a Harrier Jet. And some guy in America said, all right, I'll collect 1 million tokens. And so he went and collected 1 million tokens. And they created this documentary about it. Well, guess what? that documentary is about marketing. The agency's in it. I think it's great. The clients in it. It's about marketing. My point here I'm trying to make is that forms like this are more engaging ways to get your message across. Creator marketing, like yourself, Jessie, creators, influencers are a really good way. So the age of the campaign is still there. It just needs to be supplemented by different mechanisms.
Yeah.
And again, so you're talking about like doing product sales or even business to business. I think we have to get very focused on who our ICP is, and sometimes that's more than one person, right? So, and then we need to build a message around there. So you may have one overarching brand and message, but then your individual products or your vertical markets may have other messaging, and you have to kind of think about how's that information going to be ingested and how do you want to be perceived. So I think you're dead on with that, Ricky, with that approach.
Yeah,
100%. And we could probably talk all day just on that topic, but at this point, I'm going to transition us into topic 2, which is audience behavior trends, adapting marketing to shifting consumer habits. Can you kick us off and set the stage here, Ricky?
Sure. Again, this might not be as interesting to everyone. This is definitely more B2B, but I think, but you know what? It's not even B2B. This is B2B or B2C. What we're finding across all of our clients at the moment is that audiences are changing. The buyers that are entering the market space are younger. They're more educated. They're more knowledgeable. And ultimately what they're doing is they are behaving in different ways to millennials, to boomers for definite. To my point earlier, they're using LLMs. They're consuming content on newer, not necessarily newer mediums, because video's been around for a long time, but different channels. They're listening, or they're influenced more by influencers or creators. And social is a massive part of their audience journey. Moreover than anything like that, in B2B specifically, LinkedIn did some great research where 86% of buyers have a day one list in mind. So that idea I said to you earlier, when a CIO goes, hey, I'm the CIO of Wells Fargo, tell me the 6 brands I should work with. They already know 86% of that buyer, 86% of the time already knows the brand that they want to work with. What they're looking for is affirmation. 92% actually buy from that day one brand. On top of all of that, and this maybe is going back to brand demand, at any given time, 95%, and this is actually Erin Bass Institute data, 95% of your audience are out of market at any given time, with only 5% in market. Really important, because, like Laurie mentioned before, when we do things like SEO, sometimes what we're doing is we're mopping up the audiences that are already in market. Not all the time, sometimes we're mopping up the audiences that are already in market. But if 95% are not in market, it's really critical to drive those people into market. And to my point before, brand is a very, very important place there to do that. You guys still there?
My computer froze and I was like, I can't unmute. It's just taking forever. I don't know. It's still really glitchy on my end, but it's definitely just me. But yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing all of that, Ricky. I would love to hear your take on that too, Laurie.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he's saying is important too, but I think we're also meaning one piece that we're meaning to say, and I think Ricky actually hit on it in our first segment, was connecting with the audience. And you're not going to do that if you put all AI out there. You have to, as a marketer, you really, and as a brand, you really need to use your expertise and your creativity and make that part of it, and only use AI as a tool, right? So that is really important, I think, with the brand, with the brand piece, and hitting and connecting with your audiences, because audiences are, like you said, smarter, and they are educated. When they come to you, they probably are pretty sold at that point, because either they've done their research and they've learned, who you are, what you're about, what your products do, what your services are. And so when they come to you, they're a lot more educated and their intent is a lot higher.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think what you're talking about there is that buyer behavior. And actually the AI piece is interesting because I know we're going to talk about it a bit later, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But we work with AI brands. We launch AI, like Microsoft, we launched a lot of their AI capabilities, Qualcomm, the same thing for Snapdragon. And I think there has to be a really fine line between, are you accelerating the message, but still staying true to the audience and to the creativity, or are you using it for a stunt? And I remember recently, Coca-Cola, I think it was, they created an entire campaign using AI. But that wasn't as a proof of concept that they're all going to create all of their campaigns using AI. It was, I don't know if anyone from Coca-Cola is listening to this, but either way, it was a stunt. It was exactly that. It was a stunt. It was just to show that it can be done, not that it should be done. Because the reality, and I was in Cannes in the summer, and there was someone that got up on stage and she said, we created this ad in 2 days. And then they played it, and I was like, I can tell it was created in 2 days.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Levi's did the same thing. They started using AI models in some of their ads on one of their campaigns, and quickly figured out that their audience did not like that at all. So they got some really good feedback on that. And so now on they use, real life audience. So it just starts to show you people connect with people. It's going to be interesting, I think, to see how people connect with AI people.
Yeah, I think if the idea is good enough, people will connect with it. And so my feeling is like, whether it's AI or not is, I personally think, almost irrelevant. Is it a good idea, and has it been executed well? Because if the answer to those two questions is correct, it is yes, and it's aligned to the audience needs, it will reach your results. If the answer to one of those problems is no, guess what? It's not. And I think in marketing, sometimes we overcomplicate things. Actually, it's a very simple problem. Is your message relevant to the audience you want to message it to? And is it simple and easy and clear to understand? That's it. We like to overcomplicate it into 50,000 different things and make it sound more complicated than it is. But at the base level, that's it. And that AI knows that.
That's right.
Keep it simple. It always sounds easier than it is, but yeah.
Right, because it's sometimes hard to put a whole big message in just a few words, but really, when you can capture that, you've done it.
You're so right. Yeah, that's such a great point. And we still have 2 more hot topics we're going to get into right after this brief message.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now he has a $50K per month. This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now he is. This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter.
That's
Mike
never
hired a virtual
happened
assistant
before,
from.
of course.
This.
Are you able to click it, Layla?
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike. This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter.
All people in Real People Connection, Tracy says in the comments.
2 years ago.
I am not ready.
$50K per month
and while we wait for this video,
operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp, and Google, and Facebook, manages his CRM on Gulf High Level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
Caught that first part. So now it's showing the menu of services. So if you're listening on podcasts, what Cherry Assistant is offering is lead generation assistance, CRM management, prospecting assistance, sales presentation preparation, data entry and cleanup, customer support, project management assistance, and so much more. As you can see, I'm working with them, and we've got Layla here who's helping produce in the background, which, thank goodness, I don't know what just happened there. I didn't even see the beginning of that video. So if I was talking over it, I apologize. My computer is so glitchy right now. I think it's the internet. But anyway, yeah, let's move into topic 3. We do have a question that looks like it just came in. With AI making content creation faster, what do you think will matter more for brands in 2025? Quantity or originality? I'm going to start by saying live streaming, because then we can engage with you and engage with each other, and you know that we're real human. But I digress. I'll pass that question over to both of you. What do you think, Ricky?
So it's interesting. We're tackling this problem right now. So we've just built an AI content engine. So this, I don't know if this is a baked question or something, but it's a very relevant question. So we've built an AI content engine, and actually so the answer is twofold. I don't think quantity ever will matter, because who wants more content to consume? I don't think anyone wants that. Anyone on the planet. What you want is more relevant content. Now, originality is a different conversation, because creating original content is a really hard thing to do. You know, it's like when clients come to you and say, we want something that's viral. Great, so does everyone. So original, I think it's less about quantity, and actually it's maybe even less about originality. It's more about relevance. And so for us, I think the problem is not more content, it's what is the right content. So the engine we've built, as an example, audits YouTube, websites, competitors, LLM rankings, and then combining all those multiple thousands of data points gives us an idea of where the white space is, so that we can create the right, well, not even white space, where is the right content for the right audience and the right personas at the right stages of the journey. So for me, it's what is the right content, and then you create that content. Now, is that content then relevant? And to my earlier point, in that mid-journey, LLMs are consuming a lot of that. So the content you create for that mid-journey may be very different to the content you create at the brand level or at the sales level, at the start of the journey, at the end of the journey. Hopefully, that answers your question, at least from my perspective. Laurie, I'm not sure if you have a different point of view.
Yeah.
You know, I think originality is absolutely key, because right now I feel like AI search, the language models are kind of eating themselves in content now. So they're hungry for new original information. So when you can tie that originality, with your messaging and get that out there, and creating things like this, live streams, long form content that then you can cut up and repurpose. And that's where you get your quantity from. So basically you create really good long form content, then you repurpose it and distribute it using AI tools to do that. So again, you're the creator, you're the one bringing the value, the originality, but then you use AI as a tool to help you amplify that out there.
Awesome. Well, he says thanks. So thank you both for diving into that question, and keep the questions coming from the comments in the chat. Like, we want to continue to make this relevant for you all. And we're going to shift now a little bit into SEO. SEO in 2025, how to get found in evolving search. So Laurie, could you kick us off on this topic?
Absolutely. So I've watched SEO evolve over the years, and I think that now is the biggest shakeup that I've seen since the internet, since we started having search, since Google came around. And with AI, search has decreased for search results, and also traffic from search results has decreased dramatically for brands and across the board. Second quarter of this year, we were hearing reports of like 25 to 60% reduction in traffic. And I know this for a fact because I had clients calling me left and right saying, why is my traffic down so much? What's going on? Am I not ranking? Well, they're ranking in organic, but when Google pushes organic down to the bottom of the page or on the second page to make room for AI search, which is taking up 60% of most searches now, and then you've got the maps, which basically only list 3 businesses there on the homepage. You're far down on the site. Now, don't forget their ads. They got to put their ads in there too. So organic gets pushed way back. Search traffic goes way down. And so what does SEO look like in 2025? Do you still want to worry about it with your with your website if it's organic is being pushed down so far in search results? But the truth is yes, because what does show up in the search results are the Google Maps. If you're a local business, if you are and you're serving local clients, or AI search is up there, and it may mention a few of your competitors who may not be shown there. And what that depends on is how you shift your SEO strategy. And there's certain things that you have to do now with SEO. So it's like I alluded to when we first started talking about the brand piece of it, it's not just what is on your website, but also what is off of your website. So traditional things like backlinking and optimization, SEO optimization like that, they're all still very important, because how you do that determines how you'll rank in those Google Maps, or if you'll even be seen in some of the AI search results. It's also important to point out that Google search results may be totally different from Perplexity or totally different from ChatGPT, and so you need to understand like where they get the data and how they get their data. So they look at your site and they look at what's called schema on your site, and it's not what you see on the front end when you land on a website. It's kind of what's programmed technically in the back end. And if you do that in a specific way using schema, you can show up more prominently in AI search results. I've seen some certain types of schema bring people up dramatically in the maps, and I've seen the schema also bring up organic search results for when that still matters in some cases, which is great. I had one client went from position for one keyword that they had from position 98 to number 1 in 3 weeks, and all we did was update the schema on their website. So
wow,
still very important, but I don't want to say it's shifting, it's actually expanding, because you still have to do the traditional SEO, but now you have to do a little bit more and be a little bit, smarter about it. And now there's also sitemaps too, specifically for the LLM. So if you don't have that on your website, you need to ask your web developer to make sure that's in place.
That's all good reminders. Like the basics, we still have to cover the bases, like just because of AI, none of this stuff went away. Thank you for sharing that. What's your take on SEO in 2025, Ricky?
So it's interesting. I mean, Laurie is obviously an expert on the SEO side. I think what we're seeing at the minute from an SEO perspective, at least through a lot of our client work, is that the worlds between SEO and content are getting closer and closer. Now, you can argue SEO and content have always been great bedfellows, but I think there's always been a separation of like, well, I'm creating content. Is it for SEO, or is it just I'm creating content for the audience? Well, now it's actually those two worlds are very combined. And so what we're seeing is SEO is the right thing in terms of it's very important, but actually it's more about answer engine optimization, because you're not catering for individual keyword searches. You're catering for actually much longer prompts that are set, proper structured sentences. I think the other side off the back of this is how you then create content, exactly as Laurie mentioned, in terms of schema, addressing the schema issues on your page is very, very important. The technical part of SEO is very, very important, but actually making sure your content actually answers those answer engine optimization services is really, really valuable. We work with a few partners, SEMrush, but also companies like BrandRank, where we get ranks by the different LLMs, by the questions that we have to answer. It makes our life a lot easier in terms of the content that we're trying to create and why we're creating that. And to my earlier point, what we've now done is actually just looped the SEO part into the content audit part, whereas before we kept them slightly separate because it depends on the need. Are you creating for a campaign, or are you creating it for your website? Well, actually, the two worlds are so closely aligned now that when we do it, we wrap it all into one, because it's one intelligence database. And to Laurie's point, AI gives us the ability to crunch huge amounts of data that we were never able to do before. No human being can crunch YouTube data, competitive websites, your own website, 2,000, 1,600, 5,000 pages, plus LLM data. No human being can do that. It's just not possible against multiple stages of the buyers, against multiple personas. It just is physically impossible. we can use AI now to do all of that intelligence for us. So we can now talk to it and guide it to help us create the right types of content that serves two purposes. It's right for your campaign, and it's right for answer engine optimization, what we're calling what I think the industry at large has said is the new version of SEO, answer engine optimization.
Absolutely. I mean, SEO is really, that's another shift. Content is always king, especially when you have, let's go back to the question we had earlier about originality. Anywhere you can put a perspective in there, it's in your content, it's going to help a lot. And, you know, you got to think of we used to optimize the content on our sites for keywords, but now it's context, right? And topics, and how succinct you are of that, and how original you can be with that. Use case studies are a great strategy for content. Anything, you know, statistics that or studies that you've done, anything like that you can share. The LLMs will gobble that information up, because that's new information that help them, you know, add context to what they're presenting. So it's about context. Content strategy is absolutely key. I'm glad you brought that up, Ricky, because I got deep into the technical aspect of it. But at the end of the day, it is whether or not the value of what the person's going to see when they land on the page, and whether they make that decision to click that button to call or to complete your intake form. So it also is what establishes your credibility and authority as well.
So the content is all about the context.
That's right. You got it.
All right. Context is king. Okay. I'll remember that now that I just said that out loud. And so just be human. You know, it just comes down to being human again, not robotic. We used to want to write for the bots on Google.
Exactly.
Write for the humans.
Well, I think we're writing for the bots, but we're just writing in a more human tone. The bots were very analog before, which is ones and zeros, whereas now it's natural language, because it's large language models. Right. So it's more context around a point.
Exactly.
And the problem is the permutations of that are vast. It's not what is marketing. It is what is marketing in this world right now for B2B, and how should I be thinking about it? And that permutation, that sentence structure, that syntax of sentence could be 1,000 different permutations in those same models. And so anyway, I'm not going to go there.
Ricky, that's a good transition into AI content strategy. So leveraging artificial intelligence for smarter marketing. Could you kick us off and set the stage for this topic, Ricky?
You know, I really should have been better prepared, because I actually already answered some of this question earlier.
I was going to say, I think you covered it really well in the previous segment.
We really did.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that the thing for me, I guess, from an AI content strategy perspective, is, as I said before, if that mid part of the journey is being leveraged by AI, and there's lots of different questions, then from my perspective, how do you automate that and make it as simple as possible for the LLMs to consume that content, which then so I think the benefit for most marketers, it allows you then to repurpose your budget to do more brand work and or sales work. What we typically see, and we've seen it 1,000 times, is clients will come up and go, I want to do brand, I want to do demand, I want to do sales work, I want to do account-based marketing, I want to do field work, I want to do channel. And the list of needs from the business are endless. But your budget is typically not big enough to do that, because especially in some of the big companies we work with, they've got 2% of revenue. Now, 2% of a big revenue pot is still a lot of money, but it's not a huge amount when the asks are so vast. With that AI, what you're able to do, as long as you're smart about it, is go, right, this middle part of the journey, I know over time LLMs are going to take over. So I'm going to write content, create content for those LLMs. Absolutely, as Laurie mentioned earlier, schema content, FAQs, things that are going to get them more highly ranked. Now I can take the rest of that budget and put it into brand and to sales work, which is going to have the highest impact on closing revenue or building trust. And that, I think, is where marketers need to be smarter. The big thing for us is if there is a race to the bottom in terms of creating, it's not about creating. And someone else said it earlier, and it was about, is it about quantity or originality? I think for us, it's about what is the right thing based on where the gaps are in your world and in the audience's needs.
Mm. Yeah, the gaps. It's always about the gaps. What would be your take on all that, Laurie?
Yeah, so chiming in on that, I think that what he's saying about the content strategy and getting that messaging out there with unique content on your site is absolutely critical. And then one point I will add to that is the people that do make it to your website are not necessarily going to always as much be information seekers, because they're actually going to get a lot of that from, AI answers or, from the LLM they've searched. And when they land on your site, they're gonna have a higher intent. So you might not get as many visitors, but the ones that you do get are gonna have a higher level intent, and they're probably going to be more qualified. So if your content strategy is set to bring in those type of customers, that again, knowing your ICP really well and speaking to them in your content is going to be critical.
We actually saw that with one of our clients. It's interesting you mentioned that, Laurie, because when we were in Cannes, we spoke on the stage, and one of our clients, she was CMO of Iron Mountain, said exactly that. She said, my traffic to my site has taken a big hit, big hit.
Right.
But the quality of the conversion has increased quite dramatically. The problem is I need to drive more of that traffic to my site, which comes back to my earlier point around you need content to answer the needs of the customer, and they're building it now. But the point is your conversions might be lower. Sorry, your conversions might be higher off a lower, smaller base, but you need more of them to come in. And now what you're doing is, and the problem before with SEO and content was you would make a change, you would see that change affect you over a 3-month window. It's not like that anymore. You make that change, overnight you see the change. And that's the big difference. Like one day you could be up, the next day you're down. The next day you're back up, the next day you're down. It's
volatile for sure. I'm seeing the same thing. Like one day, you get, and it's also retraining our clients too on like what this new world, what this new search looks like, what this new landscape looks like. It's not necessarily, if the numbers might not look good compared to the way we're used to looking at them, but it's not all bad. I think we have to shift our thoughts about the metrics we look to measure the success of our online marketing efforts will evolve as well.
Yeah. Wow. So interesting. There's been so many changes in this realm. Would you both say, I don't want to say not Google Analytics, but yeah, I guess it is Google Analytics that really helps you kind of track a lot of, I guess, at least in the ad sense, like when you're starting to run ads, then Google Analytics will really help you in terms of tracking changes. But like, what other metrics are you looking at to find quality numbers? Of course, you want to see your conversions and who's becoming a customer of those conversions. But like, when you see that volatility, what tools are you going to better understand like why and how do I, make any sense of this?
Well, there are new tools like SEMrush and there's a few others that I've been looking at over the last few weeks, basically that kind of help you monitor the impact of how you're doing in AI search. But essentially what they're doing is they're looking at your visibility. They're looking at where the people who land on your site are coming from. So you can track when in Google Analytics, it will show you your source and the mediums if you look at that, and you can see where traffic's coming from. And most of my clients, we're starting to see more and more ChatGPT, the AI answers with Google. I think they're calling it Gemini there. Perplexity's even delivering some results for clients, but that number is kind of going up. So that's a metric that we're looking at this point. And I think that is also what we look at is going to also evolve too, as we learn more and more how we're being picked up and what factors are impacting it.
Yeah, so interesting. We could probably talk all day about this, but I know we need to wrap up. We did get a question from AP. He said, what are the things that companies need to keep in mind when using AI LLMs?
So you mean using AI LLMs as far as research, or using AI LLMs as a marketing strategy? So that would be my question, because the answers would be different on that. So if you're using AI LLMs as a marketing strategy, then a lot of what Ricky and I have shared here are key: content, putting yourself out there, making sure your message is strong and clear, and there's no confusion about what you do and what you bring to. That's from a marketing standpoint. Those were the main things that I would look at.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts here, Ricky?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm not 100% sure what the question means, because it's like, what are the things companies need to keep in mind for using AI LLMs? But yeah, I agree. I think ultimately, if you're going to, you need a smart tracking system. I agree and I disagree on this tracking, by the way, because I think actually the biggest problem marketers have is they look at stats and key metrics in isolation. So here is my ranking for LLMs. Like, okay, it's great. How does that, like, especially in B2B, it's like, how does that impact pipe? How does that impact impressions from my media campaign? How does that impact likes and comments? So I personally don't believe that you should be looking at any one aspect or KPI in isolation. It needs to be a holistic view of all of those together. And so when you talk about LLMs, for example, I personally do not think you should be measuring LLM effectiveness just through LLM ranking. That is one.
Right.
You need to loop those results together to give you a 360 view of the picture of either a customer, which could be an individual if you're in B2C, or a company if you're in B2B. And then everything Laurie said is correct. I'm not going to add to that because it's 100% right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you both for covering these hot topics with us and taking questions from the audience. We are basically through everything. We just need to do the guru of the week. And I'm going to pull myself out of the screen. If you both could tell the audience why they should go follow the guru of the week.
Ladies first.
Thank you. So for that guru of the week, I chose Greg Eisenberg. He's someone I've been following, for the last month. And the reason I'm following is I'm really intrigued by AI tools for marketing. And this guy's really tapped into it. And, I've started creating automation tools to help us do our jobs more efficiently and get more reach for our clients. And that has involved creating automations using AI and a whole bunch of other things. And this guy, Greg, he has a couple of things that I follow. So his LinkedIn profile, he has a business. He doesn't talk a whole lot about it, but he has a group called the Vibe Marketer that I'm a member of. And in the Vibe Marketer, he actually shows you all these really cool tools. It's a little techie and geeky, but these really cool tools where you can pull all these things together and analyze data, or you can tap into what's going on in forums like Reddit and places like that. So you can get customer sentiment about either your brand, or you can understand what the hot topics are so that you can chime in on that as far as your content that you create, so you can become part of the conversation. He also has a new podcast on YouTube that is called, I think it's called the Startup Idea Podcast, or something like that. Anyway, he almost every day he's got a new startup idea around AI and marketing, and how you can build tools using no-code tools to go out and create things that you can resell. So business ideas that he comes up and shares. So I think he's someone interesting. If you're into that sort of thing, I think he would be a good one for you to follow. So I recommend checking him out.
So it's interesting. I've probably got a couple, and as I've gone through this, I've been thinking about something else, not someone. But I'm going to start with Chris Burgrave. So one of the biggest challenges I think you have in marketing is proving to boards that marketing is actually valuable. So, it's all what, I used that analogy earlier. I said, you can go to you can do more brand work. Well, it's easier said than done, because the reality is you go to a board and say, I want to do more brand work. They think, the department of fluffy pictures. They want to do more fluffy. Yeah. Right, let's do that. I actually met this guy, Chris Burgrave, a couple of years ago, and I was just blown away, because actually one of the things he talked about quite heavily was that marketing in the 50s used to own the 4 Ps. Don't own the 4 Ps anymore. Really, all they really own is promotion. And one of the things he said that was really important and what he talked about, because he's a former CFO himself, he talked about the fact that the business see intangible and tangible assets on the P&L. And the problem with marketing is you can't create any tangibility onto P&Ls, and we don't understand financial metrics. One of the things he talked about was, how do you persuade a board that doing brand marketing is good for their business? And the thing that resonated with me heavily is price. He said marketers don't own price, but if you can show real proof use case that brand or your marketing efforts have an impact on price, you win the argument at the board level every single day of the week. He's a Dutch guy, very, very great. We had him in Cannes with us last year, and every single marketer that he presented to was like, why are we not doing this? And I'll give you a good case study, an example. Netflix. Actually, Laurie, I'm going to ask you, Netflix. Every year, do you get a hike in price on Netflix? Yeah. Do you ever say no to it?
No.
Right. Because it's invaluable to you. So every time when they jack up that price 15%, 20%, you go, okay, guess why? Because their brand equity is very high with you. And so he has this thing where he talks about the elasticity of price. And he'll talk and say, what he can do an analysis and say, does your brand have elasticity in its price? And a good example is Intuit. Intuit QuickBooks said, we're going to raise your prices by 30%. And people had a violent reaction to that. No, you're not doing 30%. So they said, okay, 20%. 20% is fine, and everyone accepted. Yeah. And the benefit of that is, if you do that and you build brand equity, all that money, that $20, $30, drops straight to your bottom line, and it moves marketing from being a cost center to being a revenue generator. So that's one side. The only other thing I would say is, if you're not already into it, and I've talked about storytelling before, brand storytelling is a really good conference for marketers who want to get into brand storytelling. It's not a person. It's a conference, but it's a really, really good conference. It happens in Sundance, and it just happened actually in August, Elevate. And it's really good for you to understand how to build brand stories. That's it.
Yep. It's that trust factor again, you know?
Yeah, 100%. It's the trust factor, how you build trust, how you drive trust. And I personally can tell you, I went to Elevate or brand storytelling, I was blown away. And I pivoted the entire organization towards it. Took some big risks. So we've actually done our own brand storytelling film, which we're releasing in New York and San Francisco. And I put my own marketing budget against it. And our CEO was like, do not do this. He was like, look, this is not a good idea. And I stuck with it. I did it anyway. And, fair play to him. When he saw it, he was like, this is really good. And when our audiences saw it, they were like, we want to do this. How do we do more of this?
Right.
My point is, sometimes you've got to take big risks.
Yeah.
And that drives brand equity, that drives your price and your ability to command a better price. Less customers, higher price, better bottom line.
Yeah. And it requires you to put yourself out there. And it sounds like you've done that really well, because that's what's going to close the trust gap, with buyers and your audience, is because people connect with people, not brands, and certainly not bots, as we've accomplished in this episode. Well, thank you both so much for sharing your guru of the week. Before we go, would love to just hear from both of you in terms of who it is you serve. Well, what it is you do, who you serve, and how you serve them. And if they could be served by you, how could they reach out to you? We'll start with you, Laurie.
Okay. Hi. Yeah. So with Trumpet Marketing, we serve service providers, startups, and when I say service providers, we do a lot of law firms and a few doctors too. And what we honestly provide for them is they don't have in-house marketing. So I don't want to call it fractional CMO work, but we basically are their marketing team. So we come in and we look at the whole big picture and look at what they need and make recommendations and help them grow. Most of our clients have been with us for over 10 years. So there's a lot of trust that's been built up there, and we really care about their results. And so that's who we serve. We're really moving into the startup phase because we're really excited about the AI and all the startups that are coming along with that. We feel like we have a good background that can help that. So if you're interested in someone like us to help you, can go to trumpetmarketing.com and you can check out all our services there. We also just launched a whole suite of like AI marketing services. So if you want to figure out how you can inject AI into your marketing strategies, we'd love to talk to you about that. You can go to the website and just click the button to schedule like a 15 call with me directly and chat about it. So thank you, Jessie.
Yeah, thank you, Laurie. And how about you, Ricky? What do you do and who do you serve? And if they could be served by you, how could they reach out to you?
Well, I think we probably talked about ad nauseum on the call, but I'll give you a 5-second spiel. So we are, we only serve B2B clients. That's all we serve. We do not work in B2C. And most of our clients are challenger mentality. So if you have a mentality where you want to challenge the status quo or do things differently, we work very well. Just to be clear, it doesn't have to be a challenger brand. It just has to be someone that wants to spots a need, spots a thing that doesn't work properly and needs someone to help them with that. The kind of clients we work with, like I said before, Microsoft, Henkel, Google, Schneider, Qualcomm, Snapdragon, etc. But we also work with mid-market brands as well, and startups actually in a lot of cases as well. The work we do is full service, end-to-end, everything from strategy, creative, content, activation, analytics, even have salespeople working on behalf of our clients as well. If you want to reach out, transmissionagency.com is where you reach out to, or reach out to me directly on LinkedIn.
That is awesome. Well, thank you both so much for staying up late with us on LinkedIn and coming on here and sharing your Guru of the Week and all your expertise. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jessie.
Absolutely.
It's not as late for me as it is for you.
That's right. You're in California, so you're 3 hours behind us. But we've got another excellent episode planned next week. And of course, I don't know why this episode, I'm just having like these glitchy issues. I would normally pull the pictures up on the screen, but we'll be here same time, same place next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time with 2 amazing guests. And until then, we hope everyone has a really great week. And I don't know, should I even try to play the outro video? I might just leave that to Layla because at this point, anything I click just delays. But yeah, thanks again, everyone. Have a great night. We're delayed. Here's next week. We got Whitney Richardson and Garris Booth. Hopefully you all can come and listen to what they have to say. We've got some really great topics planned. Otherwise, thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great night.
Take care.
Thank you. Appreciate it.